Life Stories presents another gripping tale of betrayal, resilience, and self-discovery. Emily spent her entire life being the responsible one, sacrificing her own dreams for a family that never truly valued her. But when the ultimate betrayal came, from the two people she trusted most, she was forced to make a choice: stay and endure, or walk away and build a life on her own terms. This is a story of heartbreak, strength, and learning that sometimes, family isn't about blood, it's about who truly stands by you. Subscribe to Life Stories to begin today's journey. My name is Emily, and for as long as I can remember, responsibility has been my constant companion. I was never the carefree child, never the one who could run wild, make mistakes, or rely on others to clean up my mess. From the moment I could walk and talk, I was expected to help. Our home in Milwaukee was always full of noise, movement, and demands. My parents, honest and hard-working people, did everything they could to provide for us. But there was never enough time, never enough money, never enough ease. My father worked long hours in construction, leaving before sunrise and returning after dark. His shoulders slumped with exhaustion. My mother took on every cleaning job she could find, often pulling double shifts just to make sure we had food on the table. They were good people, but they were always tired, always stretched thin, and as the eldest, I was expected to fill in the gaps. When my two younger brothers, Jake and Daniel, were little, I was the one who helped them with their schoolwork, packed their lunches, and made sure they brushed their teeth before bed. And then, when I was 10, my baby sister, Madison, was born, and everything changed. "Emily, honey, could you help change Madison's diaper?" My mother would call, her voice weary after hours of scrubbing other people's floors. And I would drop whatever I was doing, whatever childhood I had left, and rush to help. That was our normal. Everyone pitched in, except Madison. From the moment she arrived, she was different, special, a delicate thing wrapped in soft blankets, carried and cooed over, never burdened with expectations. "She's just a baby," Dad would say when she threw tantrums, knocking over cups of juice, tearing pages from my books. Let her be. And so, she was allowed to be. As we grew older, the pattern continued. My brothers and I learned discipline, work ethic, and sacrifice. Madison learned entitlement. She had an uncanny ability to turn any situation to her advantage, to pout just right, to cry at just the right moment. And my parents, oh, they adored her. They excused every mistake, forgave every failing. "She's sensitive," Mom would say, while Jake and I exchanged weary glances across the dinner table as Madison whined about not getting her way. Dad worked himself to the bone, and Mom stretched every dollar. And still, Madison had more than the rest of us ever did. She had new clothes when we wore hand-me-downs, extra treats when we were taught to do without. And if she cried, God help us all. I graduated high school with one goal: to escape. Not out of anger or resentment, but out of necessity. I couldn't stay in that house forever, carrying everyone else's burdens. I needed a life of my own. I found work at a local diner. A small, unimpressive place, but it paid. I saved every cent, stuffing bills into a coffee tin hidden in my closet. That money wasn't just for college, it was for freedom. "You work too much," Mom would sigh when I barely had time to eat dinner with them. But I didn't have a choice. I refused to let myself be trapped. When I finally scraped together enough for evening classes at the community college, I juggled work and study with a fierce determination that even surprised me. I barely slept, falling asleep over my textbooks, waking up before dawn to do it all over again. "You're going to burn yourself out," Dad warned one night when he found me at the kitchen table, eyes bleary, surrounded by financial ledgers. "Maybe," I admitted, rubbing my tired eyes. "But I promise you, Dad, I'm going somewhere." And I did. Within a year, I was promoted at the diner, moving from waiting tables to handling the books. The numbers made sense to me. They told stories, revealed patterns, gave me a sense of control over a world that had always felt chaotic. That skill got me noticed. And suddenly, my college dream didn't seem so far-fetched anymore. Meanwhile, my brothers were finding their own way. Jake and Daniel moved out. started their own lives. Independent, hardworking, like me. But Madison? She stayed home. She slept until noon, skipped classes whenever she wanted, and never lifted a finger to help around the house. She's just figuring things out, Mom would say whenever I voiced concern. Figuring things out, at 18 years old, with no plans, no ambitions, and no sense of responsibility. It was infuriating, but it wasn't my problem anymore. I had my own apartment, my own life, and for the first time, a future that belonged to me. But just when I thought I was finally free, the phone call came, the one that would change everything. The phone rang early one Saturday morning, breaking the rare peace I had found in my new life. I almost ignored it, but when I saw my mother's name on the screen, I sighed and picked up. Emily, honey. Mom's voice was unusually soft. Hesitant. I need to tell you something. Madison is pregnant. I sat up straighter, gripping the phone. What? The father, he left. Moved to Arizona. Says he wants nothing to do with it. I closed my eyes. Of course. He did. Of course. Madison had gotten herself into this situation. And of course, my parents were already planning how to fix it. I knew what was coming next before she even said it. We're going to help her raise the baby. Mom continued. And, well, we know you're great with kids. Maybe you could come over on weekends? Help out? A coldness settled into my chest. I should have expected this. And yet, it still stung. Mom, I said carefully, I have a full-time job. I'm taking night classes. I don't have time to raise another child, especially one that isn't mine. But, Emily, we're family. Family, that word, always thrown around when they needed something from me. I took a slow breath, steadying my voice. Family works both ways, Mom. Or have you forgotten the money I send every month? Silence. She never liked to acknowledge the checks I sent home, the ones that covered Madison's doctor's visits, baby supplies, whatever financial mess she had landed herself in. But my presence, my time, was what they really wanted. And that, I wouldn't give. From that moment on, I became an expert at excuses. Work projects, client meetings, anything to avoid getting pulled back into the chaos. I don't understand you anymore, Mom said one evening after yet another declined invitation. You used to be so helpful. I used to be a child, forced to be helpful. I corrected her. Now, I'm an adult with my own life. The tension between us grew. But I held my ground. I had worked too hard to build a future for myself. And I wasn't about to throw it away just because Madison refused to take responsibility for hers. But the real betrayal was yet to come. One day, over coffee, my Aunt Lisa sighed and leaned forward. They talk about you. You know, she said. Your parents. Madison. I arched a brow. Oh? They say you've changed. That you've become cold. Ungrateful. A slow, bitter laugh escaped me. Ungrateful? For what? The privilege of raising their other children? The opportunity to now raise their grandchild? Lisa shook her head. I just thought you should know. But I already knew. I had known my whole life. Still, I had no idea that my family's betrayal would go deeper than gossip. That the next person to betray me wouldn't just be my parents. It would be my own husband. I remember the day I found out like it was yesterday. It started like any other Saturday: laundry, grocery shopping, the usual chores. James was out, supposedly running errands, and I decided to tackle some spring cleaning. His side of the closet had always been a mess. So I started sorting through it, stacking his forgotten gym clothes, stray receipts, and mismatched socks. That's when I found it, a phone I had never seen before, tucked behind his winter sweaters. At first, I thought it might be an old one, something he had forgotten about. But when I turned it on, the screen lit up instantly. No passcode, no lock. My stomach clenched. Then the first message appeared. Miss you already. Can't wait until Saturday when she's at work again. My breath caught. I stared at the screen, willing the words to change, to become something else, anything else. I scrolled, message after message, photos, conversations, inside jokes. My hands trembled as I read them. Lol, she's so clueless. Always at the office. 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 That's all she cares about. The timestamps stretched back months. Then I saw it. The message that made my world stop spinning. Baby's definitely yours. Doctor confirmed today. 12 weeks along. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember grabbing my keys. All I remember is the pounding of my heart. The roaring in my ears as I drove straight to my parents' house. When I stormed through the door, Madison was sitting on the couch, lazily flipping through channels. What the hell is this? I threw the phone onto the coffee table. She didn't even flinch. She picked it up, scrolled through the messages she had sent, and shrugged. Oh, she said casually, I guess you know now. My body shook. That's all you have to say? She had the audacity to sigh. Like I was being dramatic. Emily, these things happen. These things happen. I couldn't breathe. My fingers dug into the sides of my jeans as I tried to steady myself. You're sleeping with my husband, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. We're in love, she said, as if that made it better. And now, with the baby coming, James and I want to get married, once you stop being difficult about it. Difficult. My vision blurred. I turned to my parents, waiting for them to say something, to defend me, to condemn this insanity. But Mom sat down next to Madison and took her hand. Emily, she said gently, as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. Try to be reasonable. Tommy needs a father figure. And James is so good with him. And now, with another baby coming, I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Reasonable. Dad cleared his throat. You never wanted kids, honey. James, well, he always did. Maybe this is for the best. I looked at them all, my sister, my mother, my father, and I realized, in that moment, that I had never truly been part of this family at all. Years passed, and I built the life I had always dreamed of, without them. My apartment overlooked the city skyline, a symbol of everything I had worked for. My career flourished, and I surrounded myself with people who valued me, who didn't just take from me. My brothers, Jake and Daniel, stood by my side. We became our own family, one built on mutual respect and love, not obligation. Meanwhile, Madison and James struggled. They bounced from one apartment to another, barely making ends meet. My parents, once so eager to support them, were drained, emotionally, financially, completely. Mom called me, pleading for help. Emily, we can't do this anymore. Madison, she keeps having babies. But she won't work, won't take responsibility. We've spent everything we have. Please, she's still your sister. I let out a quiet laugh. She stopped being my sister the moment she betrayed me. And you stopped being my parents the moment you sided with her. I hung up. It was the last time I ever spoke to them. Instead, I focused on my own happiness. Love found me again in the form of Mark. A man who understood me, who respected my past but didn't let it define me. As we sat at dinner one evening, he reached across the table and took my hand. Family isn't always who you're born to, he said softly. Sometimes, it's who you choose. I squeezed his hand, smiling, because in the end, Madison hadn't stolen my family. She had simply shown me which parts of it were worth keeping. Subscribe to Life Stories for more incredible real-life stories.